Welcome to this week's Good Work Show. We are excited because we got a good one for you. We've got two organizations that we're going to feature on that are in the education slash literacy space. So it's going to be a great show all about learning and giving back to the community in a couple different ways. First up, we're going to have literacy action on the show.
Yeah, so we're going to have Addison Merriweather, who is their board chair, to come on and share all about the organization. And you know that you're getting really good information when the board chair comes on because they're a volunteer. They're not paid by the organization, so they really have to be dedicated to. I mean, chime in here. You can agree with me.
I need to let you.
They can't hear you nod.
I want to see where you're going with this.
No, I'm just saying that you can trust that a person who's like volunteering with the organization is really going to be passionate about what they're talking about. So we're excited to have Addison come in. And then we can also talk a little bit about a partnership that Literacy Action and Goodwill had during the month of September, which is Literacy
Month.
Yes, Literacy Month.
Yep.
So that's going to be fun.
Yep. And then later on, we're going to have George Thomas. We're going to call George and talk to him. He is the founder of EEOG, which is the Education Equal Opportunity Group, and really talking about the work that he's doing, not only in the Atlanta area, but he's even expanded it to another state, but really home in on what he's doing for providing equal education opportunities to people and to youth who may not otherwise have those opportunities to see leaders and become those leaders that they see. So it'll be great to have George connect with us a little bit later. And again, this show is all about education and getting people educated in a variety of different ways, whether they're youth or whether they're adults. So should be a good show.
Yeah. Were you a reader when you were growing up?
Yeah. Yep. I was. I read. I was an early reader too because we went to Montessori school, and then I have a sister. My sister, everything she learned, I learned 4 years early because she came home and made me do it. So
I was about to say, I didn't know where you were going with that.
Multiplication sheets where they had like 100 on the page. I probably did those when I was 2. I'm just and I have a real fond disdain for those sheets.
I didn't know where you, didn't know where that was going.
It's a fond disdain because, it was fun at the time. Well, I think about it, it was a little traumatic for a 2 or 3 year old trying to do times tables. But every time she learned something, I had to learn it. So, yes, I had to learn to read quite early because...
That doesn't sound pleasurable, though.
No, it wasn't at the time when I was working with her, but when I went to school, it turned out
my
for my good.
Didn't teach me anything.
What? Yes, she did. Just call her up.
I know I should.
So, I'm sure she taught you how to play something, like play a game, play Foursquare.
No, she did not teach me how to play Foursquare.
Did she play Foursquare?
I don't know. My sister is 4 years older than I am. See, you seem to have much better connection with your sister when you were younger, because my sister's 4 years older than I am, and I just I don't.
Oh yeah,
she's gonna be me. I don't remember her.
You should call your sister right now. I feel like that just is a memory block.
Wait, I'm getting a text message. Does she? Oh no. Okay, I'm like, does she hear me?
I'm recording this whole thing. We are recording this whole thing. And we're going to play it back for your sister.
I don't remember her, but it's I just kind of feel like it was.
Did maybe she thought you were too young to be in her friend circle.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
So I got to hang out with my sister a little bit.
No, I don't think I became interesting to my sister until.
Did you have any money?
No.
Oh, well, that was your downfall.
But neither did she.
Oh, no. See,
money?
I was a miser when I was a kid.
Oh.
So I had a lot of money.
That is no different than now.
Having a lot of money or being a miser?
That's being very selective on where you spend money.
Well, that's fine. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Because the things that you won't spend money, I'm like, really? Okay. Yeah, that's where we're going to draw the line?
Some lines have to be drawn. But yes, so I bet that wasn't why she kept me around, because I But I get paid for doing stuff. So if you didn't have any,
Well,
so
you said
had
that
to be
she pays you to kill the
entrepreneur.
spiders.
Absolutely, and probably to this day, if she asked me to kill one, I was like, "That's $2 right there."
No, I think like by the time she went to college,
Then
and
you were
I started
friends.
high school, then I think she could like tolerate me. But we didn't fight. The thing is, we never fought. Like we
Yeah.
we weren't
You
fighting.
just don't
sister.
remember it, Trenise. I'm
No,
telling you,
no.
your sister taught you something.
No, I'm sure
taught
she-
you to play
here's
like
what.
Operation.
My
to
sister
braid hair.
Introduced
like,
me to
you.
better music. I think any
Okay.
younger kid who had older siblings has a much better appreciation of music. I'm gonna stand by that because
yeah.
like I wasn't necessarily, because we had MTV, so my sister mandated that the television be on MTV versus whatever I would have chosen to watch. So like I got introduced to a lot of hair bands in the 80s to this day. Like one of the most exciting things, I went to a concert during, I was in college. It was a presidential election, one of them. Anyway, Bon Jovi did a
You were either in college or at a presidential election?
I was in college,
Oh.
but there was an election going on.
Oh, okay.
And Bon Jovi,
that was George Bush. I
Yes.
remember that one.
Bon Jovi did a fundraising, like the night before the election.
Yeah.
Bon Jovi on South Beach, like on the sand, did this concert.
Okay.
It was like 2:00 in the morning. And I'm down there. And I remember calling my sister. I'm like, I'm at a Bon Jovi concert. And she's like, you realize it's 2:00 in the morning, right? But I was very excited. But she introduced me
introduced you to
to Bon Jovi. So yeah,
So that's your sister's
that's
claim
my
to
claim
fame?
to fame.
She taught you how to iron.
No, that was probably my dad.
What about wash clothes?
That was my
Make your
mom.
bed.
Mom.
She taught you something. Tie your shoe. Anything.
That was preschool because they had this thing on the wall they had this thing on the
You know,
wall.
I'll give your sister no credit. When is your sister's birthday?
March 25th.
I think you should remember something that she taught you. My sister taught me a lot, like
I'm
how
glad I
to
remember
how to
that.
multiply by 9 on your hands. That is. Do
How do
you
you
know that one too?
What's that?
That's the easiest thing. I tell all kids that. Okay, so any multiple of 9 you could do on your hands.
Okay, tell me.
So 9 times 2. So put your second finger down
From which side?
from that left side. And what do you have?
4.
No, you have 1.
Oh, well-
and you have an 8. It's 18. It works on everything up to 10. Just to let you know. There you go. The more you know, the more you grow.
And star. Ching.
Yes. The PSA for the
I
day.
know, the more you know. And star.
Yes.
No, but please, can we add that ting? I was a reader because my mom was a reading teacher.
Okay, so
So
yes,
there
you had
was-
lots of books to read.
No, there were a lot of books. There were always books in the house. We read all the stories. I remember like going to Costco. This would be like a big thing. So we went to Costco, and at the time, remember the Babysitter Club books?
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a book
Like
that came out every week.
every
Every week there was another book. So at Costco, they sold them in the packs of 4.
Oh, so you 4 at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was like my biggest thrill in life. Like to go to Costco before I didn't have the hot dog then. Like that wasn't the thing. Wasn't really big on the Costco hot dogs.
Were they selling them back then?
I think Costco always had hot dogs.
Okay. They probably did.
I'm sure they
That's
did.
probably half of their revenue was on hot dogs.
Probably. Well, they only cost $1 though, so I don't know.
But you could get. I
Hot
told
dogs for a
somebody
week.
now. Don't laugh at this.
Oh no, what did you do?
But I was trying to go with this is a good idea. Somebody's going to steal this idea for our family reunion that we're trying to plan. That I really
go to
wish
Sam's and buy the hot dogs.
buy the hot dogs. I
You
feel like
realize-
that was the whole hot dog bar. We would have no budget. So here's the
But
thing.
you can buy. I told
There's
you
a
though.
whole- there's
But
a
you
whole
can buy
dollar
the
thing.
hot dogs.
But I want them in the foil, so there's nothing to do. Like we don't want to make
But
them.
if you don't
It's
have
just
a budget, you might
feel
want to
like
get
it's
the
a
ones you
dollar,
have to
though.
make
No, it's
because you
I
can
think-
get them.
I
They're
wanted
like
all
50
them
cents.
auto-ready. Just here you go. That's a good catering idea.
But you could buy
Somebody's
them all
gonna-
and put
that's
them
what
like
I'm
in a
saying.
cooler.
That's what I'm saying. You go buy like
they'll stay hot.
100 hot dogs and just roll.
Do you
your
think you have
cooler
to
up.
pre-order that?
I feel like you would.
You'd have to call Sam's and
You
put in
couldn't
an
go on
order.
a Saturday,
No,
and that's the day that we needed them on. So
you have to.
so
I don't
have
know
to
how
put in
you
an order.
We
Yeah,
have to put the order in, but then you'd have somebody like my dad going to Sam's to get like
He couldn't
his
get a hot
case of
dog.
water. That he's like, oh, I'm going to Sam's to get a case of water.
we're shut down for the day.
Right, and then he
It's
gets
a
there like there are no hot
private
dogs.
catering event.
Oh my gosh, you know how many old people will be mad if they went to Sam's and they could not get a hot dog?
Old people, you tell
Well,
them you will be mad.
Well, old people go on a regular basis. That's like every once in a while I go get a Sam's and get a hot dog. But like, old folks go.
I think a lot of people would be mad at that. But
think
it's a
so,
good
too.
idea. If you have a low budget catering thing, you can get a whole meal for $1.50.
That's true, because you could get the bag of chips,
You
too.
get the bag of chips and the drink. It's a great option if you have no budget or a low budget, which is what we have.
You
A
can
low
get the
budget.
pizzas. The pizzas are cheap too. I think
Yeah,
they're
those
like
Costco
and they're good.
pizzas. Yeah, my sister gets those for her family a lot.
They're like $3.99.
Yeah. So I mean,
This
there's
is not a
options.
commercial for Sam's. I don't know why.
Like
Like,
when you say Costco and Sam's, I mean, it's just the same thing.
well, now it's Sam's. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways,
You're not tuned into like a 30-minute infomercial for
no.
Publix. I
But you
promise.
can get a lot of books.
And then
at
I just
Costco
introduced
and Sam's.
Publix. Anyway,
Why
or
did-
you
why
can go
did
to
Publix
Goodwill.
get in?
I don't know, because I was thinking of like all the things that I love, and then I thought Sam's, and then obviously I went directly to Publix.
But anyway, back to books. You can get a lot of books at Costco and Sam's. I used to spend my allowance on books.
Me too.
Yeah, that was really the nerdiest thing ever.
It really. I mean, the thing I used to beg for books,
Yeah.
and
I had a whole thing like the golden books. I had like
all the golden
right?
books.
Like you could stack them up, and I probably had. Like,
I had
that
all
many.
of those. I had all the Babysitter Club books. I had all the Sweet Valley books. Did you read Sweet
I
Valley?
had Sweet Valley.
Did
I
you
didn't
s-
have the Babysitters Club, but I did have the Sweet
Did
Valley.
you see
one.
when they did an updated Sweet Valley a couple years ago? They updated
No.
it to their like 35, and there were 4 books in the
Oh,
series.
really?
It's really good. It was a really good book. They had gotten married. Some like Lila, she had gotten divorced, and she was like on a reality show. It was really good. I was like, this was. I guess we're out of time. So we.
Well, we're having a book review.
We are.
On that. But anyway, yes, after the break, Addison is going to join us. They probably have some Babysitters Club on the shelves at Literacy
Probably.
Action, amongst some other things. So anyway, we're going to hear from Addison. Literacy Action coming up after the break. You are listening to The Good Work Show.
To learn more about the show and how your company can tell their story, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @Good Work Show.
Audience, welcome back to The Good Work Show. As promised, we have Addison Merriweather here with us. He is the board chair for Literacy Action. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we know a little bit about Literacy Action, but we want you to give our audience a really good rundown of what Literacy Action does and your mission.
Well, good. Well, it's a pleasure to be here and be able to spread the word of Literacy Action. We're over 50 years old, but still out having to push our mission and what we do and who we serve. So it's Literacy Action is the largest adult education organization in the Southeast, in addition to Atlanta, nonetheless. And we have enjoyed being able to offer free tuition to adults who are undereducated, and there's a huge population. We look around the state. Deloitte did a study, and 1 in 6 Georgians is considered low literate.
Wow.
And it's a substantial amount. And half of that population is in the metropolitan area. So there's a lot to be done, a lot for us to touch. We touch about 1,000 students a year, which is not nearly enough of what our reach, our desire is to. But we keep working at it every day.
Yeah.
What's the threshold for that? What's considered low?
It's a
would you say
great
low
question.
literacy?
5th grade reading level or below is considered low literate
For an adult,
for an adult.
not a
Yeah.
5th grader.
Right, and if you look at that, it's once you get in that 8th to 9th grade reading level, you are qualifying for GED.
Okay.
So it's that's a lot of our population are people who aren't at that level yet, who may be entering a workforce development program, who don't meet that minimum threshold to enter into the program, and therefore they need a leg up, some programming, some training to get to that minimum and get into that program.
Wow. How did Literacy Action start? You said you've been around for 50 years.
51 to be exact.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For nonprofits, though, I mean, we can't be remiss if we gloss over that because for many businesses, even Fortune 500s, some of them don't even last that long. So kudos to the team. But tell us about your start. How did you get started in the work, those 51 years ago?
Well, thank you for recognizing that length of time. I mean, it's been a tough 50 years, and it will continue to be tough. I mean, it's tough to be in a nonprofit in Atlanta. So we appreciate goodwill and Good Work Show getting the word out. But 51 years ago, after the death of Reverend Martin Luther King, there was a lot of grieving in the community. And Central Presbyterian Church in downtown Atlanta opened their doors to that population. A lot at the time just to accept the grieving, being across the street from the Capitol. But at that same time, the congregation identified that there was an illiteracy problem, that a lot of the adults needed help. And piggybacking off of what Dr. King wanted to help this population, they came together and created Literacy Action in the basement of the church. And so it started there and has been going ever since.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
awesome.
incredible. And, shows such a tie to the community and how deep the roots of the organization goes, specifically right here to the Atlanta community. But it's interesting you were talking about that start, and a lot of people think about, the work that Dr. King did and don't really know that later in his life he really was focused on this idea of poverty and, his Poor People's Initiative and all that kind of stuff that he was really looking at, where he was kind of not shifting from civil rights, but really looking at that idea. And there are some connections between low literacy and poverty. So talk to us a little bit about that and what those connections are and how not being at that reading level just impacts your overall ability to support yourself and your family.
Yeah, the Literacy Action mission is a lot about breaking that cycle of poverty. And I think we've all seen that heat map that shows poverty across the United States, how it's the strongest in Atlanta and particularly on our west side. And that Atlantans who are born into poverty have a 4% chance of getting out of that level of poverty. And so if you begin to think about how do you break that cycle, it starts with education. And so Literacy Action has been at the heart of trying to be that service to that population. The hard part about it is that you have people that are motivated and those that are not. The motivated individuals, like we've had students come through who knew that she wanted to be a Grady nurse. Therefore, we were able to engage her and progress her through. It's that other population I think we all struggle with is how do you get people motivated? And there's so many obstacles as an adult to get educated. You've got oftentimes childcare, you've got transportation, you've got to earn an income while you're going to school. We're proud to be free, but that doesn't mean that people can leave their job and survive getting an education all the time, like you think about is K through 12. So there's a lot to that point, and as an organization, we want to make sure that we're serving that population and meeting them where they are. We've worked hard to develop a good facility in downtown Atlanta to bring students to us, but we also understand we've got to go to the students. So it's partnering with Westside Works, it's partnering with the YMCA, it's partnering with Goodwill and going to your facilities, meeting the students where they are and making it more convenient for them so they can continue with all the other things that happen in their life and gain that education while they're at it. And if you can educate people, particularly when you think about the household and children and family literacy, if that parent is at the literacy level that we discussed, there is a 73% chance that child will be at that level or below. So if you don't start working with the parents, then there's a high probability that child will never get out of that same level that their parents are in. And when that happens, what the parents are doing is they're de-emphasizing the importance of education and reading. Then they're also developing coping methods, and they're passing that on to their children. So they continue just to see things as they are, as they see in their surroundings, and you don't break that cycle.
Yeah. And we were talking a little bit earlier just about my mom was a reading teacher. So there was no getting around reading in my house. So I think about those kinds of things and how those positive things are passed along. And you see how the converse could also be true and just how much reading opens up your experience. So even if you don't have the means to ever leave Atlanta, but if you could read a book about something different, you know how it just broadens your horizons.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, Addison, but going back to your motivation thing and the coping mechanisms, I would imagine, and this is a little bit off of kind of where we're going with the questions, but for people who are just surviving, how do you reach them and say, hey, I got a job. This is the way my life is going to be. My kids go to school. Maybe I have a car, maybe I don't. Right. but I know enough to get around. This is the life. I don't see why it would be important for me to go and get the GED or to progress anywhere because I'm okay. How do you reach that group of people?
Well, I'll tell you a good story about coping. We had a student or a prospective student come in and ask questions about registering, and he was a couple days off of registration, so told him to come back on that Thursday. So he pulled up his phone and was trying to put that in his calendar. And he said to himself, okay, I know if I need to be back here at 9 o'clock, if I leave at the second commercial break of the Today Show, I know that's how long it'll take me to be here at 9 o'clock. So a coping method that it's phenomenal that people have to go live their lives that way. In such a complicated world we live in, too. We had another who came to us because he was a truck driver, and he on his route, which he was used to his route, there was a detour, and it absolutely scared him when he got on a detour and didn't know how to follow from there. So I may have answered a little bit of your question, but talking about coping, it is a struggle reaching the people. Again, I spoke about people who are motivated. Yeah. Those are the people who walk into Goodwill, and those are the people who are going to organizations and going to Westside Works wanting a job. The other angle is it's more challenging, but it's also maybe partnering with YMCA who's bringing their children to their organization, and then we can partner with YMCA to engage with the parents who are already there, to be able to inform them on the opportunities. And there's not a one size fits all when it comes to how you go about that, because we can advertise. We partner with the Housing Authority, a lot of different agencies that give us exposure, but someone's got to want to do something for themselves. And that's a difference. And, if you all figure out a way to answer that question very succinctly, then I think we're ready to partner with you. But it's an evolving process.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's an important part when we talk about meeting people where they are and what you're doing with the partners that you have, because everybody may not have that same motivation to walk in that door, but there's something in their life that you can connect with.
Right.
Yeah.
And also just thinking about, those coping mechanisms, that just the potential that's there, because who would think about the timing for that? I mean, I kind of arbitrarily think about if this show, if the 9th hour of the Today Show is on, I'm late, but but to really think about having to create these constructs. So if a person has that,
that's brain capacity
to come up with those methods with just a little bit of help, how much more potential and how much further could that person go?
Yep. So Addison, we've got about a minute left, and you gave us some really good insight into what happens, because for the students who are coming to you and kind of what challenges they're facing. You think about directions. I mean, you think about going to, literacy for a lot of people, just books. You automatically think that. But you gave us some really good examples. Give us some others. I mean, if you're low literate, what else in your life, just for people who grew up reading like, all three of us probably did, what's the challenges?
Well, prescriptions. If you go to the doctor and the doctor says, you're sick, here's the pills you need to take, take it. And you go to the pharmacist, you pick it up, you're too embarrassed to say, what do I do with this? So you try to figure it out. You may overdose. You may have challenges. Nutrition. If you want, all the restaurants now have calories in their menus. And if you can't read that for yourself or your children, if you are a parent and you've got to go sign on and check your children's grades at school, they don't send report cards in the mail anymore. You've got to know how to get on the computer, do drop-down screens, figure stuff out, sign in. If you don't even have the digital literacy, and I'm not talking about understanding how to work computers and all the technology around, I'm just talking about logging onto a computer that may even help you apply for a job. How do you, if you may be embarrassed to walk into the Goodwill Job Center and sit down at a computer because you don't even know what to do with that computer. So there's a large population that doesn't even have connectivity. So there's a lot that goes to it. I mean, we take a lot for granted.
Absolutely. Addison, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, talk a little bit more about literacy action and some of the programs that you offer. You're listening to The Good Work Show.
To learn more about the show and how your company can tell their story, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @GoodWorkShow.
Audience, welcome back to the Good Work Show. It's been a great conversation. We have Addison Merriweather here, who is the board chair for Literacy Action, an organization that is focused on adult literacy in so many different ways, partnerships, but really giving those adults the opportunity to excel in their lives through literacy, which is pretty cool. We've been talking about low literacy and what that means, fifth grade reading level or below, how that affects the family, how that affects, some of the students that you serve. And then, but we didn't talk about the programs that you offer. Right. So I want to dig into that a little bit. You got a couple of them. Tell us first about your workforce literacy program.
Yeah, workforce is really the backbone of what we're trying to serve at Literacy Action. We want to help anybody enrich and improve their lives. But when we look at when we bring somebody into Literacy Action, and we're transformed a little bit of our culture, we have historically been about more of an output culture of just how many people are we serving. Mm-hmm. And that's great, but it's more of, and I know you all are familiar with, it's more about outcomes. Mm-hmm. So not just bringing them through and getting them through our program, it's where do they go after? Right. It's truly improving their quality of life. And a lot of times that's jobs. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily just bringing somebody to bring them from a third grade to a fourth grade to a fifth grade. It's identifying what their obstacles are at the very beginning and onboarding them so that we can tailor their learning to what they want to accomplish. Mm-hmm. So if it is, I want to get a job here, I want to just simply be, in the culinary program at Westside Works, or if it is, I want to go to be a nurse at Georgia State, at Grady Hospital, we can identify what classes, and it's more of a modular learning. We're used to our children being educated and going from grade per grade. Mm-hmm. But as an adult, when your brain is already developed, there are certain modulars that you can plug in and out that actually can advance them in a quicker and in getting them to a job. We have our fast track GED, which gets those people who are on the fringe. A lot come from the West Side Works, go through our program, and then we can immediately get them, deploy them back into the workforce development programs so they can get to the job that much quicker. Mm-hmm. It's very much about learn and earn, and let's get them those soft skills. So it's not just classroom. It's help them with their planning, help them with job interviews, dress for success, yep. All of those aspects. Whereas, you might just think about, let's go through this grammar or math module. It's how do we really wrap everything around so to ensure that their outcome is what they want and what we believe they need.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Great way to put that all together too.
Yeah. So then speaking of putting it all together, so you have on one hand your workforce program, we're kind of talking about the individual, but you also have a family literacy program. And we talked earlier about how important it is on how one person in the family or, whatever can impact everybody, the children in the household and all that. So talk to us a little bit about the family literacy program. How does that work? And then why have a program focused on the whole family?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, to break that cycle of poverty, the children's first teacher is their parent. Mm-hmm. So you've got to get the parents. The parents have to be literate. They have to also, share with the kid that passion for reading. It's that physically just turning a page, holding a book. I do think technology is great, but I think no iPad will ever replace that experience of holding a book and turning a page. But as a parent, start offering that to their children at a young age. So it's important for the parent to understand that. So we want to get into the school systems and offer these classes of family literacy to the parents so they feel that they have that those tools they need. We were looking in one of the area school systems and discussing with them and implementing a literacy program, and it was I think titled something about literacy, somewhere in the title, and we had 0 registration. We changed the name to something like Power Planning. It was the same curriculum, but as soon as we changed the name, it filled up. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of that's getting past that stigma. But if the parents are there, and I think that I have the number right, between 60 and 65% of our students are female. So they're either moms or grandparents. So if you can begin to help them, then they can pass that along. And a lot of what we hear when people come to Literacy Action, particularly those that are older, they're a grandparent. They want to be able to read to their grandchild. And there's something so special and meaningful and important about that. And we need to be able to identify that. That's where there's a lot of money that goes into, I believe the number is over 11 billion that goes into K through 12, and only about 35 million into adult, and that's in the state of Georgia. So it's important that we as adults recognize that as adults that it's just as important for the success of K through 12. And when Deloitte did their study, as I mentioned, 1 in 6 Georgians, the financial impact statewide on that is about 1.25 billion annually.
Wow.
As a taxpayer, as a citizen, and all the services that go with the effects of low literacy.
Yeah.
So
It affects us all.
Yeah.
I mean, it affects us all
Yeah.
one way or another. It definitely does. So you gave us on the first segment some really good examples of some folks who had come to Literacy Action and how they might have been surviving before. Tell us a success story though, because as board chair, I know you probably see lots of folks who have come in. You recently had your luncheon and honored some of those folks who had gone through your programs. But tell us a special story for you. One of those folks that you've served and really kind of made the difference for you being board chair and made you feel good about the work that you're doing with Literacy Action.
Well, I mentioned earlier the individual who wanted to be a nurse. That's a great story. We also just recognized a student who immigrated to the United States from Jamaica, grew up in low-income area of Jamaica, and she wanted to better herself, be the first one in her family to go to school, and was seeking opportunity and realized quickly that she didn't have the credentials to get into any type of college here in the U.S. So she came to Literacy Action, enrolled in our GED program, and successfully got through it, and then entered into a college in North Georgia to get her associate's degree, and is now working on her bachelor's degree for education. So she's a teacher.
Oh, wow.
So
Nice.
she's working 2 jobs now, going to school, and will be the first in her family to have a college education. So we're very proud of her. We have another student who we encountered through our presence in a commercial office building. He was a building engineer, similar service to what Goodwill offers, and actually just knocked on our door and said, "What do you all do?" And we said, "We offer free adult education." He said, "What's the hitch?" And they said, "There is no hitch," and found out that he had been a career in working in office buildings and really didn't have an education and was very low literate. Enrolled in our program, and actually the building owner is now paying for his tuition.
Oh, fantastic.
And so he's one who also said he wanted to do it for his grandchildren, and his wife made him.
That's motivation
yes,
for
that's
you, right?
Motivation. So tell us a little bit, Addison, on how the community can support your efforts. So folks are out there listening. How can people help you do the work that you're doing?
Well, we're grateful for just number one, advocacy, spreading the word on the problem of adult literacy. Number 2, volunteers. We have great teachers, but we need volunteers as well. We need teachers. If we want to continue to grow the people we're touching, we need more teachers. Teaching children and teaching adults are 2 different skill sets. A lot of overlap, but it's a different skill set. We also need financial support. Individuals, we have a lot of philanthropic and charitable contributors, but we also want individuals. So there's a lot of different ways. Books, you guys did it. Books, we greatly appreciate. We have a success room where it's a library of books, and we want people to physically touch the book. So we're grateful for that. We just honored the founders of Dragon Con. They were talking about, and they've donated a lot of books. And we were pleased to have Vince Dooley as well. And he talked about how his wife is urging for him to get rid of some of his books. So those are great things. It's a simple gift that we value. And, there's never really any gift that we turn down, but we appreciate the financial support, the book support, and volunteers.
So if people have books, what kind of books? Because, just want you to share with the audience, because at Goodwill, we were fortunate enough to be able to give you a wide range of books, but what are you in most need of all the time? So what type of books? Children's books, adult books, self-help books, business books, all of the above,
I
you
think
name
it's
it?
all
or-
of the above. I mean, yes, children's books because we want the parents to take the books home to their
right.
kids. We want people also to have, you got fiction, nonfiction. We want people also to, as they read, to enjoy it if they need to escape. So it's not all, educational. If people want a book that makes them feel good and they can enjoy and read a book cover to cover and it may not be a true story, then that's just as valuable as
That's my kind of book.
we
We were talking. I'm like, I don't want to be helped with
Escapism.
the book. I just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
So we take everything.
Yeah. So we got about a minute left. You told us kind of the books. How do people get to you? They've got dollars. They have time. They maybe are a retired teacher, maybe a GED teacher. They want to give back and support literacy action. How do they do that, and what's the best method?
Well, retired teachers are great partners, so we welcome them with open arms. But it's as easy as going on to our website, literacyaction.org, and all the contact information for our team is there, address, and it also expands on all of our services. If you see something that looks enticing, we ask you to give us a call and we'll connect with you.
And you guys are in a really easy to access area
Yes,
too.
yeah.
So like right on a MARTA line,
We are
you can get right there. So
right in the middle of business community.
yeah.
Yeah. So Addison, couple seconds left. As a leader of this organization and as a leader just in your day job role, you've read a lot of books. Your favorite 3 books?
Oof.
Oh, that's an awful
That's
question.
that's a hard question there.
Okay, how about the last couple that you read then?
I read Pat Conroy's book, which is, now I'm drawing the blank on it, about Tufusky Island where he taught, which we vacationed down there.
Okay.
And so hearing him talk about one of his first jobs of teaching on that island to a very different culture and population, Pat Conroy is a great writer.
Yeah.
And so it was a really enjoyable book.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for being here, for the work that you and the team are doing. Big shout out to Jen Booth at Literacy
Yes.
Action. And it's a pleasure. Thanks so much. You're listening to The Good Work Show.
To learn more about the show and how your company can tell their story, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @GoodWorkShow.
Audience, welcome back to The Good Work Show. We are on the line with George Thomas, and he is the founder and executive director of Education Equal Opportunity Group. George, welcome to the show.
Thank you so very much, and I appreciate the Good Work Show for acknowledging our service in Atlanta, Georgia, and the surrounding areas.
Absolutely. So why don't you start there and tell us a little bit about the organization, your mission, and what you do?
So for nearly 20 years, the core focus of the EOG has been grounding and investing in students, creating meaningful learning experiences, and providing positive pathways to success. The EOG's mission is to prepare low-income and first-generation high school students to become college and career readiness.
That's great. So talk to us a little bit about what led you to create the organization. Since you're the founder, you were sitting around one day and observing some issues in your local community, and you determined that you needed to start an organization. So tell us a little bit about those early days. What maybe brought this to your attention, and why you decided to start the organization, and then how you actually got started.
So, excellent question. As a graduate, as a college graduate, I felt personally I was being outpaced by my own standards, by my peers. And I graduated college in '96, I believe, and I think I was making a decent salary, about $60,000 a year. But I just felt that better was possible, but I didn't know how to actually access better. And so my goal was to understand what other people did that allegedly live better lifestyles or had more accessories. And I just didn't know because we have the same amount of hours in each day. And so I started reaching out to affluent individuals in Nashville, and I just asked the question, like, what are you doing to afford this lifestyle? What are you doing to have this wealth? And surprisingly to me, I got a lot of yeses, and those yeses turned into how can we enhance and expose other young people to different experiences and different networks that can actually change some of the trajectories of people's faith. And that's how I really got started, meeting with successful people, asking them would they share their story. And we started with seminars that led to leadership conferences. And now it's all about accelerating the interaction between high school students from the public and private sector, from the public school sector, to successful entrepreneurs from the public and private sector, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So tell me what your students are about the experience when they are meeting with these professionals, or they see or realize, wow, they have a story too. What kind of feedback are you getting from the students, and what are they telling you, and what are you observing during those interactions?
So it's our own mantra, it's hard to be what you cannot see. Mm-hmm. And so typically, I feel people live in silos. If you only see people in your neighborhood or in your community, that's what you tend to emulate, because you know the person that what they do for a living, and you can kind of gauge the kind of lifestyle that they have. But sometimes you have to be and go beyond just what you see. And so student feedback has been paramount in our continued growth. And young people who've never thought about being lobbyists at the local level or the state level or the federal level have been exposed to lobbyists. The same thing with specialties, business analysts for the news stations, or senior executives or executive vice presidents for the Atlanta Falcons. So it's all about making sure that you can humanize the brand and understanding where your talents actually make sense for you to be a part of that brand. So you know Mercedes-Benz, you know the Atlanta Falcons, you know Cracker Barrel, you know Publix, but you don't know what your talent is that can catapult you to be a part of those teams and be the contributor to those awesome brands that collaborate with us to impact the lives or improve the lives of students, if that makes sense.
That sounds great. So one of the things that you definitely have on your website is a bunch of different programs. So Let's dig into some of those and share with our listeners a little bit about what those programs are, and then we'll want to talk about how can we connect some students who may be listening or parents of some students to your services. So one of the things that I think is kind of interesting is your career speed networking program. So it sounds like you kind of talked about a little bit with the different corporations and stuff you just listed, but how does that actually work, and what are the students going to get out of that participating in that program?
So the Career Speed Networking is an initiative to actually expose students to alternatives from dropping out of school, underachieving their goals, and not being a productive citizen. And this is really a series of one-on-one mini meetings and a mock interview session designed to accelerate young people's interaction and development with top business leaders. And so what our takeaway is to broaden the students' careers perspectives, strengthen their communication skills and soft skills, at the same time offer efficient and effective tools to use inside and outside the classroom. Approximately 200 students will participate in our event that we will host at Clark Atlanta University on October 3rd from 9 to 1 p.m. And again, it's just getting past the comfort zone issues for young people. Young people have to have business cards. We have a service component. Each person has to bring 10 canned goods to feed the homeless in Atlanta. And so it's a service component, but also you being enriched as a young person, but you also enriching other strangers' lives that you don't even know. And so it's no cost for any student to participate in our program, but we raise that money from our corporate sponsors that underwrite and create the experience, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So, George, you've been at this for a little while. Tell us a success story, maybe a story of a student that, kind of came through one of your programs and has really not only just, embraced what you were able to bring through EEOG, but really excelled in their career. Can you give us a sense of one of those success stories?
Absolutely. I want to highlight a young lady. Her name is Courtney Williams, and her parents are actually in Atlanta. Her mother's in Atlanta, and I met Courtney at Antioch High School, and Antioch High School is in Nashville, but she was a young person that has 4 siblings, and she really didn't become a kid, and then she earned a full presidential scholarship to go to UT Knoxville. Because she had other responsibilities that limited her from just growing up as a regular kid. And so she didn't just receive the scholarship from UT Knoxville. We had the opportunity to engage the president at the time, President Simic, who was the interim president of UT, and she, at that time, did everything right. She had the grades. She had the GPA, she had the test scores, but she did not really understand that she was college bound. And so being involved at the EEOG, being involved in our program, not only was she college bound, but she's not only graduated from UT with honors with a double major, she's now working on her PhD at Binghamton University. She's already received her master's. And this past summer, she taught a course on anthropology in Peru. And so this is a young lady who really exceeded against the odds, but she's still looking to do even better things. And that's one person that I admire for her stick-to-itiveness, her tenacity, and her overall, relentless pursuit to know that if better is possible, then good is not enough attitude.
That's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So after hearing that story, I'm sure there's people out there that want to support the work that you're doing. So tell us a little bit, we have about a minute and a half or so left, on how our listeners can support your efforts. Are there volunteer opportunities? Do you have any fundraisers coming up? How can people help to maximize the success that you guys are having with your organization?
So individuals can actually invest and make a financial investment on our website at eeog.org. Again, that's eeog.org. And just so you know, we started with 160 students in 2001. We've surpassed over 20,000 students. 15,000 have actually enrolled in 4 universities across the country, and we have about 7,000 graduates. And that's directly related to being able to pair and create these unlikely pairings between high school students and business leaders that can point out different pathways that young people don't consider because of lack of exposure. They can reach me direct by email at gthomas@eeog.org, or again, they can call 615-876-0215, and then anybody can make a donation or invest at eeog.org. Our hashtags are all the same, or Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or EEOG.org. And so we look forward to uplifting and encouraging high school students to dream the best dream possible for their lives.
Well, George, it's been a pleasure to have you on the Good Work Show. Everybody, make sure you check out their website, eeog.org, if you would like more information about the organization. Of course, you can find them on social media, as George just alluded to. And we just appreciate all the work that you're doing, George. Thank you for your time. And thank you for coming on the Good Work Show and exposing so many students over the years. That's a large number, and you hit it right on the head when you said that they can't imagine what they can be unless they can see it. So kudos to you and the team, and thank you for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so very much, and you all have a great rest of the day.
You too. You're listening to the Good Work Show.